So Matt Duffer had the flu. And because he had the flu, you aren't allowed to be disappointed by the series finale of one of the biggest shows in history. Welcome to the era of the Hollywood excuse, where your criticism is no longer a critique of art, but an attack on a human being's mental health. We are moving into a cultural phase where vulnerability is being weaponized as a PR strategy, not to foster genuine connection, but to create a criticism-proof shield around corporate products.
A man had the sniffles.
Yeah.
Katie, you don't.
At least that's the excuse they would like everyone to believe.
You don't understand what it's like when a man has the cold. Like, it's very different from a woman's cold. Like, a man cold is a very dangerous thing, Katie.
It's science.
But no, we've entered the era of just Hollywood excuses. There's always an excuse, whether it's a personal problem that they were going through it, that tries to separate the creator from the content they created so that there's no room for you to critique or address the actual issues that are going on.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with someone having the flu. This isn't about not having empathy for another human being. It's just the fact that we always need to remember that this is a job and these creators are creating things to be reviewed, to be enjoyed, but also to be critiqued.
So to give some context, the Duffer Brothers did an interview for the finale of Stranger Things, and they realized after the fact that they probably shouldn't have done it.
We fucked up.
And so because they got so much fan backlash because of the ridiculous answers they gave to most of the questions, they decided to put out a PSA to let everyone know that, you guys, we're so sorry. We probably shouldn't have done this interview and answered any of the questions because we're fried. We're really burned out. We were just getting over the flu. And so we hope you'll give us some leeway.
Yeah, and so it's this issue where, there were people who liked the Stranger Things finale, but there were a lot of people who felt that overall it was just very lackluster, that the entire season took no chances. It was largely a rehashing, and some of the most interesting storylines were completely thrown away just to take the easiest route to the finale. And so I think that this is bigger than what's just happened with Stranger Things. Repeatedly, we see in the media that vulnerability is being weaponized as a PR strategy. It's an attempt to shut down discourse surrounding your art. And so there's no genuine attempt to foster connection with these creators. It's just a way to make your work criticism proof. And therefore, if you were to have any pushback against the quality of writing or just the way something ends, you're being insensitive, you're being toxic, you're attacking them personally instead of, no, it's just critiquing their work. Look, and I think it's very important because this is like a subject that draws so much emotion. Like, you have to differentiate, right? Like, people will say that creatives are human too, 100%. That we should normalize that it's okay to have bad days and that being overwhelmed by the massive pressure, that's normal. No, but I don't think anybody's arguing that. I think the reason people have a problem is, while that's absolutely true, a bad day explains like a behavior, but it doesn't shield your final product from criticism.
And that's what I'm saying. Can you have a bad day as a creator? 100%. Can you have burnout? Yes. But does that mean that it's perfectly okay to recognize you made something that's not your best work and still put it out there?
Yeah.
No.
A bad day at the office is a bad day at the office. If you're an athlete, and you miss every single open goal in a day, you can sit there and be like, man, I've been going through some stuff. This isn't my best work. But what you don't say is, actually, there's something wrong with my performance. And to criticize me means that you are being hateful. Again, you can have empathy and understand that people are human, but also say that this is not acceptable. And there is value in being able to look at your work and say, this isn't the best that I'm capable of, and I don't want to be known for my worst work. And I think that this is kind of how all narratives have been co-opted. In one moment, you have this odd dichotomy where the creators are these geniuses and they want the genius title when their work is being praised. But the second someone says, hey, this new project, this new iteration, not as good as your last work.
Yeah, like, what happened?
They can't handle the criticism. And then they become these fragile humans who, to insinuate that they aren't perfect or that they dropped the ball, is tantamount to attacking them personally.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yes. And okay, so technically it is attacking the person because they created it. But
no, it's not at all. And I hate that narrative, because even joking about it, we live in a society where people will latch onto that. And what they hear is
that like a personal attack or something?
Instead of you create something, it can be near and dear to you, but all art is meant to be critiqued.
Yeah.
And this is the whole idea of the death of the author, right? When you make something, it now leaves you, and it is enjoyed, it is appreciated, but it's also criticized by those who receive it. And it really doesn't matter what your intent was. It really doesn't matter whether or not you had things going on. Art is judged by the people consuming it. I think it's also interesting that we only talk about personal struggles now in a way to excuse bad product. Like historically, there are so many examples of huge emotional distress and terrible life circumstances leading to enormously, or just occurring while creatives have some of their best work. I mean, the Nutcracker, Tchaikovsky wrote the Nutcracker, and he was going through deep depression and thoughts of ending his own life. He was going through deep personal turmoil and gave us an absolute classic, like a masterpiece. Now it's like, no. If someone's going through something, it's an excuse.
But I think it's a change of culture and getting through hard things. I think people are much easier on themselves, and they don't push through the hard things and allow the hard stuff that's going on in your life to influence their work and make it better.
And I think that it's so clear now that we're all being looped up in this like giant PR pivot. You look at something like, the True Detective season, the Night Country that came out recently, and just how quickly the creators pivoted to being victims of online hate.
Which you see a lot, by the way.
Yeah, that's constructive criticism. But also criticism doesn't have to be constructive. Criticism is criticism. I think a lot of criticism can be constructive based on your mindset. If something is god-awful, you can do the whole sugarcoating where somebody gives you the very like soft, like, well, there was room for improvement, but I don't know if that serves to fully convey the level of your failure as somebody just saying, man, you really missed the mark. This was garbage. And I know you're better than this.
It just feels like this is the newest version of like a human shield. So before you would put specific stuff into your show so that you could have like the racism, misogyny.
Yeah, there was an era where you could use social inequities and historic issues to protect yourself from criticism.
And now it feels like, oh, well, if I say I wasn't at my personal best or I was going through some stuff, that's your new personal shield.
Yeah, shit, I don't care either.
That I can't be criticized because I wasn't doing so well, guys.
I think that you can acknowledge the things that someone goes through, like that's being human, that's being empathetic. But that doesn't change the quality of the final product. And there's no other world where you would accept that, right? Like if you're at a restaurant and your order is just disgusting and wrong, the chef burns your steak, the fish is undercooked and makes you sick. If he comes out and says, man, you don't understand, my girlfriend broke up with me this week and I'm just going through it. You're like, okay, but it doesn't change. Yeah. Why are you here? Yeah. And so I think there is a certain maturity to knowing when you're not at your best. But again, when you're able to use the scapegoat of anybody who doesn't let me essentially make whatever I want and whether or not it's good enough, when that can be scapegoated as, oh, it's a personal attack, you're always going to have that as a fallback. And
it also
the
feels
art that
very
suffers.
Convenient that after they clearly took some like escape routes of going in the way of doing what they thought would get the most praise and taking the safest route throughout this entire season, when there was actual like pushback and negative reviews, it wasn't them addressing the actual issues that were going on. They kind of gave ridiculous answers and skirted around the actual issues. And then when they realized that they weren't going to get away with that, then it came out with the excuse that we weren't at our best.
You don't say!
I think that the Duffers thought that they could phone it in and that they had built up a brand that was so popular that by giving a bunch of kind of milquetoast endings and removing the stakes and signaling to the audience that it was all going to be fine, that the fans who wanted it all to be fine would speak the loudest, and they would be heralded as like these geniuses.
Yeah.
I mean, before
they herald in the best season of all time.
I mean, they were talking very big about this final, the especially the finale before it came out, and now we're seeing the excuses come out. And it's the way that they hold the audience hostage. And again, it's not just the Duffer Brothers. With all things, we never really want to talk about just this situation. It's just the pattern that you recognize in Hollywood. This is the real question. With the Duffer Brothers, do you think that Stranger Things Season 5 was their best work? Moving forward, do you want everything that they create to be of the standard of Stranger Things Season 5? Or would you rather Stranger Things Season 1 or 4? And if you can say that this wasn't their best work, that's criticism. That's not hate. I don't care what was the cause of it. We're just talking about moving forward. What is the standard?
Yeah, you're being a bully now. How dare you? Yeah.
Like, I can understand them saying, oh, it wasn't my best work, but they also have to admit it wasn't their best work. And we should be able to agree with them without being attacked.
Yes. But I think that's what really broke the Duffer Brothers, realizing like the huge gap in like the audience and critic reviews, and realizing that their own fans betrayed them and said it wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm. The real understanding that needs to be gained from this is that most of the narratives you see from the media and people that claim to be critiquing film are actually straw man arguments meant to protect corporations.